Hello, hello. It's Carol and Chapman. I'm so happy to see you here today. Uh, there's the chat over on the side. Well, on my side, it'll be probably on this side for you. And if you want to ask questions or say hello, maybe. And I'd love it if you assured me that you could hear me. And also tell me where you're from. So, today I'm going to talk about these very special dreams that solve problems. And after I talk about that, I'm then going to answer questions if you have any. And I had requested the people on my list ahead of time if they would send me questions for this live stream, and I received a few questions. So after I talk about dreams that solve problems, I will answer their questions and also your questions if you ask them. All right. So, dreams that solve problems. Now, I'm talking about very special kinds of dreams because most dreams are based on whatever's going on in your waking life before you have the dream. So this might be the day before, it might have to do with an activity, it might have to do with something you're thinking about, thinking of doing. It might be about sort of feeling that you can't figure something out and you want some help. So your dreams are going to be giving you answers, feedback. Often, for us who like to keep our emotions to ourselves, not because we're screwed up, but because we have to get things done. Well, sometimes then in our dreams are expressing those emotions that we've held inside us during the day. And these are everyday, ordinary, garden variety types of dreams. And they are very worthwhile interpreting because they give you some answers and some feedback about whatever's going on in your waking life. But there are also these occasional dreams that are phenomenal. And in fact, they're one of the reasons it's worthwhile to, say, keep a dream journal or have some practice with interpreting dreams. Because if you're practicing interpreting your dreams, you also are more likely to remember your dreams. And you don't want to miss one of these very super special dreams. Now, an example would be one that I had, which was when I dreamt about a man I'd never met before, didn't even know he existed. And you've probably seen videos about this or heard this story. But in the dream, it showed me his house, his work, his dog, his best friend. And then it showed him smiling at me. And he was wearing an orange corduroy jacket. Well, anyway, the next day I saw him in real life, and he was wearing that orange corduroy jacket. I mean, how could I possibly know these things? I couldn't. And that man now is my husband. We've been married almost 30 years. So that's an example of one of these unusual dreams that it's not based on experience. It's not based on what was going on the day before. It's something totally different. Now, there are a lot of these kind of dreams in the Bible. And I had the great good fortune when I went to university at Brock University in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, that my freshman year in English, my professor was Dr. Michael Horniansky. And the class that was required for all us freshmen was the Bible in literature. Because, even though people, especially nowadays, unless you are religious or born again or Christian or whatever, most people are not aware of stories in the Bible. But Professor Orniansky pointed out to us that so much of literature, certainly in the past, where people were um, very much going to church all the time, this literature refers to stories in the Bible. So now I'm going to tell you about a story in the Bible that is an example of one of these phenomenal, amazing dreams that solve a problem. And this is Pharaoh's dream, who was king of Egypt. And this dream is also precognitive because it told Pharaoh about a problem that was not going to happen for 7 years. Now, Pharaoh has this dream, and then it would be like the president or a prime minister of your country having a dream and not knowing what it meant. And so going to his advisors, his cabinet, his personal advisors, and saying, I just had this dream and it was really arresting. I have no idea what it means, but let me tell it to you and you tell me, do you know what it means? These were his, quote, wise men, and they did not have a clue what the dream meant. So after a while, he heard about a young man named Joseph who was a prisoner in his jail. And it turned out that Joseph had an amazing talent for interpreting dreams. And you might know, if you don't know your Bible stories, you might know Joseph from the musical Joseph of the Coat of Many Colors. So Pharaoh told Joseph his dream. And this is the dream. He dreamt about 7 fat, beautiful, healthy cows who were eaten by 7 skinny, sick, ugly cows. And even after the 7 sick, skinny cows ate the big, fat, healthy cows, those skinny, ugly cows did not get healthy. That same night, so he woke up with his dream. Then he had another dream. And this dream was about 7 ears of grain. And these were fat, plump, healthy ears of grain. And then there were 7 dry, unfruitful ears of grain. And they ate up the 7 healthy ears of grain, but those 7 skinny, dried up ears of grain did not get healthy and plump. So here he'd had sort of similar kinds of dreams the same night, 2 of them. And Joseph said to him, well, to begin with, since you've had basically the same kind of dream twice in one night, this is something that's going to happen. It's a prophetic dream. And, you can go and look up on dream interpretation places on the internet, and you can find out, what does it mean to dream about a cow? What does it mean to dream about ears of grain? So these are the various symbols and what do they mean? But always the first place when you're interpreting a dream is with, oh, and by the way, hi there, Vadzimu Records. It's nice to see that you're here. So anyway, he says that I asked where are you from? He says he's from Atlantis, and I see that Mystery Science is here as well. And the message is peace, kings and queens. So I'm really happy to see the both of you here. So let's get back to Pharaoh's dream and interpreting that dream. And you see, most of the time when people interpret dreams, they go and look up the symbols. But always when you're interpreting your own dreams, a very good place to start is this personal? is this actually something real in my life? In other words, is it not symbolic? And in this case, that's a good place to start with Pharaoh, because ears of grain represented food for his subjects, and cows represented food for his subjects. And Joseph interpreted interpreted Pharaoh's dream as meaning that there would be 7 years of plenty. These are the fat, healthy cows and ears of grain, and 7 years of famine. So that's a heavy prophecy. And Joseph, though, went further and said, what you need to do is find somebody who can organize your kingdom so that during those 7 years of plenty, you will store and save your all the surplus so that during the 7 years of famine, your people will survive. Now, that is a really good example of one of these dreams that come from somewhere beyond us, because during this time of plenty, how could Pharaoh possibly know that there was going to be in 7 years of famine? It would just be similar to like in 2012, somebody say you've got to prepare the hospitals and you've got to prepare facilities to make vaccines because we're having a world ravaging virus in 7 years. People would say, oh man, you've got to be nuts. Nonetheless, Pharaoh took this to heart because his responsibility was to his people and also to the success and thriving of his nation. And it turned out that the best person to undertake storing all the surplus during the years of plenty was Joseph. And we don't have to go on to the rest of the story, but basically, Joseph did save the Egyptian people during this time. So, where does a dream like that come from? And on Monday, I did another live stream here on YouTube, and it was about Vivian Thomas's dream. And it was a dream. He was a medical researcher. It's the same kind of dream. He and the doctor he worked for were stumped. They were trying to do an operation, the first operation on the heart, to heal babies with blue baby syndrome, and they just came up against a wall. And then Vivian had this dream, and it had the answer. Well, they were sort of banging their heads against a wall, trying to figure out why are our research surgeries failing? And the dream gave them the answer. All right, let's talk about our mind. On the one hand, we have the conscious mind, and the other hand, we have the unconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind is the mind that is awake right now. It's our daytime mind. And the unconscious mind, in a way, I hate using the word unconscious because it has the sense that you're hit over the head and go unconscious. But I mean it in the sense that it's not conscious. It's not conscious to the conscious mind. Now, one of the there's three aspects of this unconscious mind. One of them is the body mind. And this body mind is awake, whether you're sleeping or awake, and it's keeping your body going. It's part of the subconscious mind, but it's a very important part. And it keeps us alive. For example, it keeps our heart beating. It keeps the digestion going in our body. It keeps all the hormones coursing through our body. It's healing us all the time. So that's our body consciousness. Then there's the subconscious, and that means under the conscious mind. And this subconscious mind keeps all of our memories in it. And this includes not only the memories of this lifetime, but the memories of past lifetimes and even memories of Atlantis or memories of having been or being an extraterrestrial. These are kept in our subconscious mind. And like I said, most dreams come out of this subconscious mind. But there's also a third, or out of this subconscious mind, there's a third part of the unconscious mind, and that is the superconscious mind. And super means above. And this is the mind that is universal to all of us. And it comes and gives us these amazing inspirations every once in a while. So Carl Jung, who was the psychologist who did so much research on the meaning of dreams, and especially the symbols of dreams that he called came from the collective unconscious of humanity. He called these kind of dreams that were above and beyond anything we could know from our memories or real experience. He called those from the superconscious mind. Now, some people would say they come from God. And I would imagine for those minded people, that is where these special kinds of dreams do come from. Now, you may say, well, you're talking about Pharaoh, you're talking about that medical researcher. These are people who are doing wonderful things, and I'm not in that category of person. Well, I got to remind you, I'm not in that category of person either. Yet I had that dream about the stranger that became my husband. So I had a dream, and you can have these kind of dreams as well, that is of information I couldn't or you couldn't possibly know about, that comes to you in a dream from the unconscious mind. Now, the other thing is, Pharaoh, I'm sure, was not having these kind of dreams all the time. This was an unusual dream, and that's why it's written up in the Bible. Otherwise, we wouldn't even know about it. We don't know all of his ordinary dreams that the Pharaoh was having about the food he ate, about his favorite concubine, about whatever the heck was going on with the Pharaoh in his everyday life. So I don't want you to expect that if you begin paying attention to your dreams, that you're suddenly going to be having these phenomenal dreams. That doesn't mean you won't, but you these are the kind of dreams that can come to you, not necessarily every night. All right, so this is pretty much what I was going to talk about. And in summary, these phenomenal dreams that come with information you couldn't possibly know about come from what Carl Jung calls the superconscious mind. Now, I'm looking to see. I see that I do have a question from Lund Water, and is it a tricky question? Do they come from God? It's sort of a tricky question, but for me, it has to do the way a person thinks. Some people, and I know these people, they could have a visitation from the Virgin Mary, have an apparition of the Virgin Mary, and to them it would be a hallucination or some undigested food they ate. So it depends on what kind of mind you have. There's what your conscious mind, how it sees life. There are also some people that everything that happens to them is a message from God. So I'm going to handle that relatively tricky question by saying it probably comes from the same place. These wonderful dreams and information, but different people call it different things. All right, let me see if there's any more questions. I hope I've answered that. adequately for you. I did have a few questions from emails that were written in, and one was from a woman named Stephanie, and she had a dream about 5 multiple moons. Now, I don't want to interpret dreams, a personal dream for somebody right now. I'd rather just answer questions that have a universal meaning. So I won't answer this as it being her dream, but first, if I'm interpreting a dream, I'm going to look at what does the moons mean to this person, because this is a woman and the moon is a very feminine symbol. So there's a good chance that if a woman is dreaming of the moon, she might be dreaming about her very female nature. Um, she might be an astrologer, and moons may have to do with the moon void of course. The number 5, is it could be 5 chakras, and the 5th chakra is willpower. Or it could have to do with the number 5 is a very popular number. When there's a lot of 5s, a person has a lot of 5s in their numerology. This is a person who's well liked. People like them. So it could be any number of those kinds of symbols, but always you start with what does it mean to you? Now, I also had a couple of questions from a couple of women who I am going to keep anonymous because they were about sexual dreams. And I'm not going to talk about what the dreams were explicitly or anything. But, as we went into COVID 3 years ago, I found that both men and women were having a lot more sexual dreams. And when you look at it, at that time, there were all these lockdowns. So those people who were single didn't have the opportunity to find partners at that time. So it makes perfect sense that they were having dreams of intimate expressions and intimate, strong, intimate, heightened feelings in their dreams because they weren't having the opportunity for the expression of that kind of feeling in their waking life. But I also found that even people who were with a partner were having more of these very heightened, intimate dreams. And I believe that they were the result of all the reports of death we were getting. Remember when COVID started? First, it was in China. So many people were dying there. Then in Italy. Then it was coming to the Western world, to Europe, and to the rest of Europe and over here. So much of our news was of morgues not having enough room for all the dead and all that kind of stuff. Well, in that case, remember I'm telling you how dreams have multiple meanings and have multiple meanings for different people. So these kind of dreams also were a wonderful expression of life itself, reminding us of the beauty of life and also where babies come from, that it was sort of an antidote to the despair we were getting in the news. And I made a series of videos on love dreams. So I'm going to put a link. This is my playlist on love dreams. So if you're interested in looking them up, you can just click on that link. Well, I don't see any more questions. I can check on my emails. Oh, here I have one. Oh, all right. This is kind of discouraging. Some of Vadzima Records, I have an email saying, I see the live stream is on, you can't hear and no video. So I'm going to look in the chat and see if that is still so. Where are we? Here we are. I think that likely it maybe just took a little while to get started. I just want to know, can you see and hear me now? Oh, yes, I see here that it started. Okay, that's great. All right, now in a week from today, I'm going to have another live stream, and I'm going to continue on this series of these types of amazing dreams that people have, and also what it means to us personally. And next week, it's again going to be on Thursday. That's February 2nd, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to talk about Larry Page's dream, which made Google. Did you know that Google came from a dream? Anyway, if you have questions in the meanwhile and would like me to answer them during the live stream next week, you can send them to my email at carol@carolchapmanlive.com. If you want to have a personal private session with me, it's on my website at carolchapmanlive.com/book a session. And if you enjoyed this, please just tap the like button. And I was delighted to have you here with me today. Toodaloo.